I was thinking about my conversation with Brendan, and if you haven't watched that episode, it's episode 2, so definitely check that out. He's amazing, stylish, and so fun. I know you'll love that. I was thinking about it specifically about his exhibit that kind of married ballet with BDSM. This elegant, sophisticated, refined thing with something that's really quite taboo. And how it came together into something beautiful that was worth talking about, that people enjoyed. And that was beautiful and stylish. And it got me then thinking about one of my favorite quotes I've heard from clients that this one client of mine put in as the monogram to his wedding suit jacket because it's so foundational to him and his wife. And the quote in question is, "Why not both?" I love it. Why can't two things be true at the same time? The reason why this is so important to be able to reconcile those differences in your style and personality is because when you can, that's what's going to lead to a more stylish life, which is what leads to a more fulfilling life, a more successful life. Part of it is getting to that understanding, and there's certain times in your life, certain things that might happen that help you get there. When I was at the tail end of my corporate career, I started feeling like too many people in the office were commenting on the way I dressed, but I also wasn't dressing the exact way I wanted to. I had just met a custom clothing designer. His girlfriend at the time moved from a different office, and we became good friends. And then shortly after, they asked if I would model for them. And that was the first time I wore a custom suit. And it started kind of showing me that I want to dress a certain way, and I'm hiding this aspect of myself to basically conform to the standards that you believe you need to accept and live up to in the corporate world. You have to wear a dress shirt and trousers, and you have to wear your brown shoes with your matching brown belt. I liked interesting belts and not matching my belts to my shoes, kind of on purpose. And when I got into fashion, I learned that those things are okay. And not only are they okay, but that's what's stylish. When I see people that can put random or weird things together from an outfit perspective, I think it's awesome. I want to talk with them. And what I think is really interesting, those same people, their personalities are very similar. And I kind of liken this to things about me. Most people, when they see how I'm dressed and when they hear about who I work with, they assume that I'm going to be pretty proper. And especially if someone says custom clother, and I'm not a custom clother, but if they hear that, or that I designed a custom suit for somebody, you kind of picture this person in a suit and a tie and dressed properly. And I hate the idea of properly, but I'm also really goofy and I'm nerdy. I love Lord of the Rings. I love Pokemon. I love everything like that. Like Chronicles of Narnia all day long. That's what makes me happy. And I love talking about that with people. And I think people assume because I look a certain way that I'm going to act a certain way. And I started using that to my advantage. And that's what I want this to be about, is you can figure these things out and use them to your advantage. I think about how when I got into fashion, kind of everything before that, the 20 years before that, where I grew up playing sports. Sports was everything. I was on the football team. I was on volleyball. I was great at them. I was always really athletic. I love running marathons. But at a certain point, those things became less important to me. And I almost had to, now that I'm in fashion, it's like, can you love fashion and be, I wasn't a bro, but can you be a bro and hang with the bros, talk about sports and what player is doing what on your fantasy team, but also still love fashion? And the answer is yes. I know this because with the athletes that I dress, I talk about so many different things with them, but I can talk sports with them, and I can also talk about fashion or style or life and entrepreneurship. And that's what makes the conversations with them so interesting. And if I think about examples from my life where there are these contrasting aspects and like how they make you unique, I think about those conversations with the athletes and in other people I work with. One time I had somebody call me an approachable billionaire, and I'm not a billionaire yet, but the approachable part was the important aspect of it because they assume that if you look like this billionaire because of how you dress, how you carry yourself, that you're supposed to act a certain way. But I was really warm and kind and inviting, and that I'm goofy and nerdy. I work with billionaires, and I think that it's really important, one, to treat them like normal people because they are normal people just with a whole bunch of money. But when you crack the first joke and you're the one to do it, and you might be nervous because you're in a room with billionaire or it's these athletes, but when you're the one to crack that joke, not only does it show your confidence, but it shows that you are treating them like a normal person, that this isn't some weird thing. And like, we can all have fun and be normal and be ourselves. One time, to a billionaire client, we had an appointment. I took his measurements and was making him an outfit. A few days later, I got a picture that his assistant took of me measuring his inseam, and I printed it out, bought a plain frame, and I bedazzled it and also added a bunch of eggplant stickers on it, and I mailed it to his office. And to me, that was hilarious. Not everybody will find that funny, but I was betting on this person being a relatively normal person and also thinking it's funny. And I was right. And next time I went in to do their fitting, they had it displayed in their office. That type of action is critical, and it's not what you're supposed to do. It's competing against the behaviors that you're supposed to, how you're supposed to act. But it's showcasing my personality. So don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to crack the first joke or be yourself. That's really what this is about. It's about knowing yourself, knowing all the sides of you, whether you're proper and dressed up or preppy, but also mixing it with the sides that are goofy or edgy. And so if you think about it, like, how can contrast in your style be a source of inspiration and creativity? Because ultimately, that's what we're looking for success and to continue to grow. I think back to this one example. Back in 2018, I was at a restaurant. I can't remember which restaurant, but there was this glass on the table that had a bunch of lines on it. And we were next to a window, and the way the light shined through the glass created these incredibly neat lines on the table. And this was a really important moment for me, and I had no idea at the time how much it would inspire me and inspire my creativity. But those lines made me think, wow, this would look really cool as part of my clothing. And in fact, I started using it everywhere. The next year when I designed my wedding band, if you look at my wedding band, on every quarter, are there quarters on a ring, a circle, but every 90 degrees, there are different lines or slashes. And the first hat I got from the Aspen Hatter, I asked him to put a line in it, and he branded a line across the whole thing. And when anyone sees this hat, they always say this line is the coolest part of the hat. I started incorporating them into my other designs. And I think going back to that same glass, I started spinning it and turning it. When you turned it, obviously the light created new shadows, and the contrast of the light and the dark and the lines created something that was beautiful and interesting. And I was like, oh, I do like this one side. I don't like the other. You can take that and think about that as your life and your style in your life. Rotate what you're doing, change something up, make a little turn, a little adjustment, try something new. You'll see what you do like or what you don't like. From that, your style grows. You curate better style, and that leads to creating more and more. It inspires you to do more, and then you're able to be more creative. And it doesn't have to be creativity from a designing clothes perspective, but it might be now, after I'm talking about all these lines, you might go put a whole bunch of lines in a presentation or put a bunch of lines into the next banana bread you bake. It doesn't matter what it is. You can find inspiration in contrast and use it. You just have to be open to seeing it and open to using it. But how do you balance those different aspects of style in various settings? If you think about going back to the corporate setting or me in meetings with billionaires, there's a certain way you're supposed to dress. That's never been me, and that will never be me. Again, like I like mismatching my belts and shoes on purpose as kind of a FU to all the people that say you have to do that. I love wearing rings. And sometimes if I'm meeting with someone really conservative, I'll add these other details so that I stay really true to myself. It's rings. Sometimes I have nail polish on. And like I'm wearing right now, I put informal linen, fun, comfortable pants on with one of my kind of most elevated jackets and suit jackets I have. Because these two things, while competing, and the ideas of them are competing, they're beautiful together, and they can be. You just have to have the confidence to do that. So think about your values. What's important to you? What do you have to get across in certain situations? If you're an entrepreneur starting a business and you're going into a meeting and whatever it is that you're trying to get across, but you don't feel like it's you, compromise. You find a middle ground that still feels like you, but that you're also meeting the other person halfway, because at the end of the day, if you're an entrepreneur, you need to get that next dollar. You have to get that business. So you have to compromise, but you can still compromise and be true to yourself. So if you're edgy, be edgy. You can be edgy and preppy at the same time. Like me in my outfit right now, I am never one thing. And I encourage everybody never to be one thing. Going back to Brendan is never one thing. He is a mix of so many beautiful things. And that's what makes him so stylish. And on top of that, if you add in how stylish his clothes are, he is one of the most stylish people you'll get the chance to come across. And that's what I love about style and it being so much more than clothing. You can mix and match everything you want. You just have to be confident enough to do it and open to seeing it. Don't hide yourself. Hiding yourself, it's not fun. It makes life just less interesting. It's harder to live life like that. Be nerdy, be goofy, crack a joke. If you think somebody's going to laugh, make them laugh. If you want to make somebody smile, you can make them style while still being you, still mixing every aspect of you. They'll appreciate it more. They'll want to do more business with you. They'll want to talk to you and listen to you. You just have to be open and recognize it and be confident enough to do it. And I know you can. It's really not that hard. And I want you to go out today and do something different. Tomorrow, wear something different, act a little bit differently, tell a joke when you're not supposed to, say something funky, or tell somebody something you've never told them, somebody else before, that shares your personality, shows you're vulnerable, and I guarantee you will find more success and more happiness right in that moment. Let me know in the comments what you're going to do differently tomorrow. And just remember, style is not in your closet, it's in you.